All right. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. I want to welcome you to the event called Discover the Power of Coaching Through the Stories of Your Coaches. Now, I want to introduce you quickly to your host. So, this is Javier Peñalba, and this is the other person is Jane Sum. So, hello, Jane.
Hi, Javier.
Welcome, and thank you for also coming. So basically, Jane and I were certified professional coaches from IPEC, which is the coaching school where we graduated about 1 year ago. We have kept in touch, and around 6 months ago, we started doing a barter coaching, which basically means we have shared or exchanged coaching services with each other. And one day we had this conversation in which we actually were acknowledging how much growth we have had and what the impact had been in coaching with coaching throughout those 6 months that we have coached together. So we thought this is something that we could share, actually, this growth and these areas of improvement. Maybe we can inspire people to get to know more about coaching and also to overcome their own issues. We also connected coaching with our stories, and we realized how our stories themselves, they're the ones that sort of led us to the coaching journey where we're at this moment. So we said this is really something that we got to share with people, and this is pretty much the inspiration and motivation for this event. So I want to share with you the three main goals that we have for today. We want to talk to you about our stories, share with you our challenges, and tell you how we have overcome them so that we can, or in the hopes of inspiring you also to overcome your own challenges. We want to share our mission and objective as coaches. And finally, we want to share our experiences being coached ourselves so that you can know which areas we have improved and you can get an idea of how coaching can be of help to you. So without further ado, let's begin. This is going to be like an interview sort of format where we'll ask each other's question. So first, Jane, again, thank you for being here. Just let's start with the first question. Tell us a little bit more about you, please.
Yeah. Thanks, Javier, for the introduction. Yeah. So yeah, my name is Jane Sum. I am Dutch Chinese. I'm born and raised in the Netherlands. I'm a chemist and I have a PhD in chemistry. So a little bit about my professional career, maybe. I started in the Netherlands with my first job and I worked for a Japanese pharmaceutical company. For that job, I was really lucky. I got the opportunity to work for half a year in Japan. And that was really inspiring, being able, to live in a total different culture compared to the Netherlands. And that is really what I wanted to do more of it. And I was very lucky. In 2006, I went to China with my ex-husband. He was sent to Suzhou in China for his job. And it was really a great opportunity for us to explore more outside of the Netherlands. And then the journey in China continued for me. I moved to Shanghai in 2008 and I joined a German chemical company. I was leading a technical team, doing technical support, and I could really visit a lot of countries in APAC together with my colleagues and to meet customers. A very inspiring time. I was 4 years in Shanghai, met a lot of friends, really friends for life, and very grateful that I had that period of my life there. In 2012, I was lucky again. I could move to another place. I moved to Bangkok and I took the role of a regional sales manager. And I was leading a team, selling our products for the same company still in Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. And again, a lot of traveling, more opportunities to get to know new cultures, try different kinds of foods, which I really like. And it was a really valuable experiences I had there. So I was more than 10 years in Asia, and that part of my life really shaped me the way I am today. And I'm really grateful to have, these friends I made, the good colleagues I have, which I still have today. So 5 years ago, I moved back to Europe with my boyfriend because I wanted to be nearer to my family. So now I am leading a global team, building a business, growing a business, penetrating new markets, and still for the same company, but working for the headquarters here in Germany. Next to my corporate job, I'm doing coaching, life coaching and leadership coaching. I really enjoy that, learning a lot through coaching. In my spare time, I like to cook. I like to spend time with my friends and family. I like yoga and meditation, and I think doing new things that really inspires me. So yeah, more or less that is my life so far in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, thanks a lot for sharing that. So just a little bit of acknowledgement, right? You have a very multicultural background, and it seems like a lot of adventures that you have been through in Asia, for example, living 10 years there. That's something that we actually have in common a little bit. That part of I
Yeah.
also lived 3 years there, and it I find interesting that you don't only have the technical background, but you also wanted to go a little bit more into the people skills type of thing with coaching as well. And it seems that all of these experiences and also that the part of the coaching have shaped you into what you are today. So thanks a lot for sharing that again. Let's keep going then with the next question.
Mhm.
So this is very linked to the previous one, but we'll go a little bit deeper right into our lives. So the question is, what have been the greatest challenges that in your life so far, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I believe that my challenges, whether they are big or small, they are related to me being a perfectionist and also my tendencies to please people. I believe that goes back to my childhood. When I was 5 or 6, my parents divorced, and I was brought up by my grandmother. Together with my brother, we stayed with my grandmother and father. And I have a sister, and she lived with my mother. And the divorce happened, I think, end 70s, begin 80s, in the Netherlands, in the Chinese community. And you can imagine that divorces were not so usual. And this was something people were gossiping about, talking about, and I could see as a kid, my grandmother and my father were for sure not happy and maybe even feel ashamed that they are going through this. And I think as a kid, I thought, that I could make them happy and proud, probably by getting these good grades. Because as in Asian culture, it was really important that the kids get good grades, get a good job, so that they can be a better life. So I thought I will just listen to what they asked me to do and just go for a good study and good marks, so that they can be happy. So I think that, so from then on, I developed this pattern of trying to be perfect, trying to be the best in class. And this is not necessarily a good thing, a bad thing, right? Because it did bring me to where I am today. But the drawback of that is that I was afraid of making mistakes. I had sometimes self-doubt. I was not always confident, because you cannot always be perfect. But I was so attached to how people think of me and maybe judging me. So that really, held me back also in professional life. And further, the tendency of pleasing people, I think that's also coming from Asian culture. In Asian culture, we have to always be kind. We always have to smile. We have to have respect for people, and which is also not a bad thing. But we never learn to set boundaries. We never learned, at least I didn't learn, how to address my own needs, right? And I was uncomfortable with negative emotions. I didn't like conflicts, and you can imagine in daily life, that is not a good thing, for sure we don't want conflicts all the time, but in professional life, that is sometimes essential, right? To come to a solution. So I really had to learn how to handle that. The second part of your question was, how did I overcome my greatest challenge? I think my greatest challenge so far was my divorce when I was in China. How I overcome that, I think just being positive, being strong. I was always told to be strong, and actually it went okay. So I was strong, I was positive, but what I didn't do was really share my challenges and problems with other people. As I mentioned, we were never learned to share emotions that much, and especially negative emotions. So I think I really suppressed my feelings, and suppressing is never a good thing, right? But somehow I survived that period, and actually it went pretty okay. Maybe because I met so many good friends in China. So I believe that part of me of being a perfectionist interestingly also helped me in overcoming this challenge, because because I was being a perfectionist, it also meant like I didn't want to fail, right? I wanted to do my best. I don't want people to judge me. So what I did was, just doing my best, finding a job. So I moved to Shanghai by myself. I found this job at this German chemical company, and I was just doing the same as I did before, just doing my best and performing. So somehow it also helped me. And I think another part of me which helped me to overcome my challenges is my desire to learn and to grow. It's very interesting. I'm always worried about small things. Am I doing it right? If I post something on LinkedIn, I check it like 10 times. Maybe some people on the call can recognize it as well. But when it comes to big changes, like the job offer going to Bangkok, I didn't need to think very long. I just took that opportunity. And I think that is because I really have that desire to experience new things, find new challenges, and see what I'm capable of. So I think that part of me always have helped me to grab opportunities and, not stand still. And now with the coaching, I really realize that what my blocks are, what my challenges are, and also acknowledge feelings. And it's okay, to feel sometimes uncomfortable. And that really helped me to, remove some of those blocks I have, and help me to handle challenges in life a little bit differently. But I'm still learning every day, but it's really fun to observe myself and to be able to improve myself.
Yeah.
Long story.
No, I find it fine. It's we're trying to do things in a nutshell, and we have had long lives. Well, sort of long lives already, so it's not that easy all the time to talk about everything. But I find it very honest from your side, and I really want to acknowledge that in you sharing. And I know it's for the first time that you're talking about all of these things in public, right? In a Facebook Live. So sharing about the divorce of your parents, I know that's not always easy, especially when the kid is in between that conflict, right? And of course, also mix that with your culture, with the Chinese culture. Of course, that can develop into some beliefs or saboteurs, as you call them. In this case, the perfectionist, saboteur, and the pleaser. So that sort of have followed you along in your life, but you're really working a lot on that. And I've noticed that also in our coaching sessions, how you have overcome a lot of that, and have been able to just be more secure, set your boundaries, express your feelings a lot more, and really be authentic, right? So that's really powerful. And well, thank you also for sharing that challenge of your own divorce, right? And how your strength and your value of growth helped you. You mentioned a little bit of part of the perfectionism, maybe some elements of that, the ability to keep going, right? And not to let something just squash you completely, but to keep going. I find that super interesting and super powerful as well. So thank you again for sharing those very interesting bits of your story. Now let's keep going with the third question. So why have you decided to conduct the IPEC coach training, and how was the experience for you?
Yeah, I wanted to do the coach training because I wanted to be a better leader for my team. And a second reason was that I wanted to further develop myself. And I even have a third reason. I thought it is a good backup plan, in case I want to retire a little bit earlier, I could still do coaching, and I expect that is something I would like. what are my experiences during the training? I must say, till I did this coaching training, I never have experienced a coaching session before in my life. And the training was really exceeding my expectations. It was really powerful. I still remember the first module that was in person in Amsterdam, and we had to go through the coaching exercises ourselves as being coached. And I remember that in few of these exercises, I had to cry. And I always thought of myself as being a person who is not that emotional, right? Really strong, really, how do you say, logical, etc., etc. So I was quite surprised, and I realized that the IPAC school created such an environment for us where we can be vulnerable, where we can be safe, and where we can be authentic and share our true feelings. And as I mentioned before, I never did that, at least not in so much detail. And it felt so good and liberating. And I thought, you know, I want this every day. So, and not only in a training, right? So I think this coaching training for me was a start of further discovering, you know, who I am, what are my blocks, what can I do more than I do today. And it's such an exciting journey, and it's still continuing.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, so you had a couple of reasons, right? You wanted to grow, as you said, as a better leader, further develop yourself, and the part of the earlier retirement. And in the process, once you started IPEC, you realized that actually you loved that. You loved being able to experience that that growth yourself, right? And to be vulnerable. And as you said, you even got a bit sentimental in that. And I am sure that a lot of people that went through that program can feel that way as well. I also remember that I cried once a little bit when I talked about my gremlins. And
I was not the only one crying.
Yes, you were not the only one.
Yeah.
So this was powerful and cool, and it keeps going, right? It's a journey that keeps going. Yeah. Now, how has coaching helped you in your daily life, Jane?
Yeah, I can maybe give an example of a coaching I did with you. I think in a lot of coaching sessions, I was exploring my blocks, right? What is holding me back? Where are my fears are coming from? And with the objective to change those subconscious thoughts which are holding me back. And I think, Javier, you still remember we had one coaching session where I wanted to explore why am I so afraid of making mistakes? Why do I have those self-doubt, and am I so attached to what other people think of me? And you did a great visualization exercise. You're doing that very often, and it's super powerful, because that exercise brought me back to my childhood. I was in a scene, with my grandmother, and my grandmother was super happy, proud of me, smiling at me, very radiant. And me, myself, I was a kid in the scene, and I felt also really safe, really happy that I was able to make her proud and happy. And this coaching session made me realize that unconsciously, that I made up that story that as long I'm having my good grades, as long I'm a good kid and I'm kind of perfect, then I will be loved, and they will be proud of me, right? Unconsciously. And then looking back, I think somehow this pattern or this thought is still with me, and now I know that, you know, I don't need to have a perfect score to be loved by my grandmother, because her love is unconditionally. And, you know, linking back to today, I don't need to be perfect for people to value me, right, at work or in my private life. But somehow it's so deep that I always have the feeling I have to. And but this is really a big insight for me, and I try to reframe that thought that I have to be perfect, right? So now my new thought is that I can be, you know, whoever I am today, and you know, what I contribute is valuable, and it's just a contribution, right? And that really helped me to be more authentic, to be more vulnerable, also admitting that I cannot do everything, and it really helped me me, yeah, in my daily life to come forward and to speak up, you know, and set my boundaries as well, and being a little bit less attached to what people think of me. I must say it's still not easy because, yeah, I did that all my life. But the great thing of coaching is that it makes me aware of it, right? I'm not living on an automatic pilot. And yeah, and it's fun to practice because now I see my challenges as an opportunity to learn and to observe myself. And yeah, so I feel really, how do you say, fortunate that I did this coaching training, and I really see it as, yeah, the best investment in my life so far. And yeah, and I hope I can also bring some change and positive impact to the people around me.
Thank you. That's again very honest, very vulnerable, the way you're sharing, especially how you share that vision exercise that we did together. I remember as well. And that was something that was recurring, right? This fear of making mistakes and things like that. I remember how you wanted to see where it could come from, right? And this was very powerful. I remember that you also said that you could use this image of her being just happy and loving you whenever you have the thought that you cannot make mistakes, right? And that's something that you can even use to raise your energy at that moment.
Yes, indeed.
Um, and indeed, right, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. You can be vulnerable. You can open up and express your needs, express what doubts you might have, and people will still love you, right? And the most important is that you love yourself. These things
Yes.
are super powerful that you shared right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier. Yeah.
All right. And well, the last question for you, Jane. What is your objective with coaching?
Yeah, what I would like with my coaching is to really help my clients to raise awareness, to really get out of that automatic pilot way of living, because I've experienced coaching myself, and I really know how powerful that is, right? I think we often don't know what we are capable of, you know. What more than 1 year ago, I've never thought I would do this Facebook Live event. I would not have the courage to do so. So I think we all have gifts and potential, and I think coaching can really help people to find out who they are, what they want, uncover their blocks, and really help them to diminish these, you know, saboteurs and voices in our head which are holding me back, holding us back, right? And become the best version of ourselves. And in the end, that will make us feel happier, feel more joyful. And I think when we are in that state of, you know, being more peaceful, being happy, I think we are able to pass that on to the people around us. And I would like to cause that ripple effect, right? That we can pass on this positive mindset and energy, and yeah, and have like a lifelong learning process. And I think it's really not about the end goal. It's really about self-mastery, and we are not comparing ourselves with somebody else, but just with ourselves. And yeah, and I feel so grateful that I can do this, and I would wish that for everybody. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. So mainly raising awareness of people, right? So that they can really understand who they are. And in a way also in this discovery process, diminish their fears, their saboteurs,
Yeah.
this type of beliefs that limit us, right? And don't allow us to really be authentic and live the life to the fullest.
Yes.
So just feeling that for yourself, and also I can talk about myself. Of course, we want to share that joy with other people, and I can see that that's mainly, as you said, your objective, to really share that, to help people to become just not more aware, but more joyful and more happy. So
Yeah.
very, very cool, very interesting how you
Yeah.
expressed it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
So thank you. This has been my part, sorry, James' part, and my turn to ask her questions. Now we're going to switch roles, right?
Now everybody knows the questions already. But yeah, Javier, would you like to maybe introduce yourself and tell a little bit more about your life?
Sure. So this part I will try to make it very short, and I will talk more about like my life in the challenges part. Mainly, I am Javier Peñalba, as I said at the beginning. I'm 35 years old. Actually, I just turned 35 a couple of days ago. I'm originally from Nicaragua. I'm an industrial engineer by training. And when I was 27 years old, I left Nicaragua and I went to Taiwan to do a master's degree. I stayed there for 3 years. And then 5 years ago, I found a job opportunity in Germany, where I'm living right now. So I find this opportunity in the area of intellectual property, and I do that as my corporate job. Basically, that's my day job today still. And during my free time, I help people with my life coaching skills, simply supporting people. So far, it has been my niche to help people struggling with anxiety to find their inner peace. But I'm moving that or shifting that into something different that I will announce a little bit later in this discussion that we're having.
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell. I will just give you more details as we move along in the discussion.
Thanks a lot, Javier, for your introduction. And as you mentioned earlier, we have quite some overlap. You have been in Taiwan, and I know you speak perfectly Mandarin. I was so impressed. And we have been also together actually 5 years in Germany. And thanks also sharing what your niche is today in coaching. So the second question I have for you is, can you tell us a little bit more about your greatest challenges in life and how you overcame them?
Sure. So now I will talk a little more about, like I said, about my life and my challenges. So the biggest challenges have been leading most of my life with anxiety, with obsessive thinking, insecurity, and fear of commitment. So for you to understand a little bit of where this could have come from, at least a big part of it, I have to talk about an incident, some life event that really affected me, that maybe back then I didn't see the effect, but that today I can see it very clearly. So when I was 6 years old, right, I was living in Nicaragua, in the capital Managua, with at home there with my mother, my sister, my grandmother, and my father. Right. So that day, my sister and my grandmother, they were abroad. It was only pretty much my mother and me at home, while my father was at a birthday party. So just to give you a little bit of a background, my father, he had problems with alcohol. He also apparently had problems with depression, which we didn't know, right? He always tried to act very strong, very uh, all the opposite of vulnerable, right? Just very firm. Well, he came back from a birthday party that day, and he was very, I could say, distressed, restless, acting all weird. I remember very well that. And he was apparently looking for something, but I didn't know what was happening. Well, he was looking for a gun, right? And my mother was able to retrieve that gun from him. And we thought, or he thought that we were safe, that nothing was going to happen anymore. So she left me watching over him while she went to look for help, right, from an uncle that lived right next door. And then as I was with him in that room, he just scared me out of the room. He did some strange face, right, and noise, and I can still remember that. Actually, that's the last communication that we had with each other. Then I just ran away from that room, and he locked himself in. And then while my mother, my uncle, and myself were outside of that door, we just heard that bang, right? So as you can imagine, he shot himself in the room while we were just a couple of meters away from that. So my mother was able to break into the room, and we saw what remained of him. I was shocked, as you can imagine, but somehow I depersonalized it completely. I simply went somewhere else as if it wasn't me living that moment. Well, my attitude towards that, I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I didn't practically react. I went to play video games actually. And after that, we moved out of that house, and I was just trying to act strong all of the time, trying to act as if that didn't happen. I never really had a dad, you know. I put everything under the carpet, kept going. He always told me men are strong, men are macho, men don't cry, you know, and I was just trying to live up to those ideals and also to stay strong for my mother and my sister, right? So was just really not expressing any of the sadness that I actually had, and was avoiding every type of vulnerability in that sense. Then, well, my strategy wasn't really working, as you can imagine. After some time, I started really having episodes of anxiety. Especially, I remember the first time when we went back to that house, like complex of houses where my relatives live. I had that first episode, I remember, in which I was super nervous, super anxious, and I didn't know what was happening. Then it happened, it started affecting me at school, like socially, then in performance, any type of uh, public performance or test or anything where I could be vulnerable. I felt like super nervous and my hands started sweating. Then my mother started getting worried about me because I was very distracted, very not present at all, right? And I would be forgetful. So she started taking me to psychologists, and they were trying to help me with pills, prescriptions, right? But not really any therapy. So she got a little bit overprotective with me and very, very worried. After some time, after my teenagers, actually, during my late teenagers and early 20s, I realized that I was not really able to stay committed in a relationship, that I would always have this anxiety in the relationship as if there were expectations from me that I couldn't meet and that I couldn't really express anything outside of what I thought I had to really be. And in the end, I would just run away from relationships after a couple of months. Any love, a feeling that I could have was replaced by anxiety, I would say, and by simply being, I don't know how to explain it, not in the relationship, but always looking for maybe something else that could give me happiness because I was very like nervous, right, and anxious. So this kept on going until I was 31. That was my last relationship here in Germany, actually, which lasted 2 years. After those 2 years, in which everything seemed to be okay, right, very stable, at least to the eyes of outsiders. Actually, I broke up after 2 years because I just had too much anxiety. I felt that there was this fear of committing to anything longer than that, and like getting married was completely not in my plans. And I just broke up, right? And then I realized that I needed to see what was going on with me, and I started going to a psychologist and reading a lot about anxiety, self-development, a little bit of a part of depression and security, many things about self-development, right? Insecurities, I mean. And I realized that many of the things actually came from this childhood experience. Also, the psychologist helped me to face that, really to talk about it, because in the past, like I said, I wouldn't talk about it at all. And I learned also like to express myself, my feelings without being ashamed of it, right? Then I was able to overcome a lot of that, and I found my current fiance, right, about almost two years ago, and we're actually engaged now. We're getting married by the end of the year, and I feel a lot more comfortable in that sense of that insecurity that I had with relationships, and in general, I feel more confident. So I will talk a little bit more about how coaching came into play with this as we move along in the questions, but this is what I wanted to share regarding my challenges.
Thanks a lot, Javier, for really sharing your story so openly and vulnerable, and telling us what you have gone through when you were a kid, that you're actually suppressing your feelings, right? You didn't want to face them, and because of doing that, it seems that it caused you anxiety, fear of commitment, and throughout your life you have been looking for help via psychologists. And I also know you as a person who is always learning, reading, and developing yourself. And as you explained, that also has helped you. and see where you are today. Yeah, you overcome your challenges and you're getting married soon at the end of the year. So yeah, I think, yeah, thanks for really sharing that story, and I hope that, you know, inspires also the people to see, no matter what happened, you know, you can make a change, you can change yourself, and be happy, right? So thanks a lot, Javier. The next question would be, could you tell us why you have decided to do the IPAC training, and how did you experience the training yourself?
Yeah, so just sort of linking it back to what I was saying, right? When after a couple of years of being in this path of self-development, spirituality, meditation, and all of that, I realized that my relationship with people in general was changing as well. I was less judgmental. I was listening more to people without necessarily telling them what to do, but just giving observations. And I realized that some people would come to me actually for help, like to ask for advice or comments, and that I was actually enjoying it a lot. So I told my sister, I remember about that, like what could that mean? And she said that there was this career path, that she knew someone that was had become a life coach. So I started researching on the internet about that, and I found out about IPEC. So IPEC, when I found them, I just felt completely that they resonated with me, a complete connection because of their spiritual value that they have, this approach, also the approach that they have with energy, that you can transform any energy, that no energy is bad, right? Even anger, sadness, that's all part of, that's normal, right? And you can transform that into something that helps you. And that freedom that I felt, that sort of empowerment, I decided that I wanted to take that journey with them. On the other hand, I was also starting a relationship, like I said, and I thought maybe this can also help me to increase the chances of my relationship to work out, because I was a bit afraid that the past would repeat itself, right? So by doing the coaching training itself, and by myself being coached in the process and learning all of the tools and using them on myself, I realized that how powerful that process was, and how joyful and happy one can be by knowing all of this, right? So the training was amazing. Going through it myself, not just learning the tools to help others, but also going through it myself was amazing. And as you said, I want to repeat that as well. I think it has been the best investment right now in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. A little bit similar as I had. It's a great investment. It's the experience of being coached, right? And knowing what the power is of coaching. And actually, before you started, you were already doing some coaching informally, and that brought you to coaching. And also with the intention that it can help you also to have that commitment, to keep that commitment. So thanks for sharing that. Can you next maybe share with us how coaching helped you in your daily life?
Yeah. So, well, in general, many aspects, right? Security, anxiety, all of this was reduced a lot. I can feel more joy in my life in general. But I want to talk a little bit more specific. And as I told you at the beginning of my coaching journey, I was starting a relationship, right? So a lot of the issues that I would bring were related to fears of commitment, which has been my thing, right? So things like, what if things go wrong? What if we put a label to this relationship already? That means that we're already committed, and then I cannot escape if something goes bad or something like that, right? So the coaching actually made me realize, or reinforce, because maybe I had already sort of read it somewhere, but that experience reinforced that it's just fear, right? It's just an idea in your head, and that whatever happens, even if things go wrong, we can always face the situations and find a solution, whatever that is. And that power that I got from, or that freedom that I got from actually knowing that I can face any situation, and that fear is simply in our heads most of the time, I think that was super powerful. Also, something specific was about pressure of expectations. I usually had this pressure that my partner would be observing me and sort of expecting something from me, and that did not allow me to be myself in general. So I learned that that was just another idea, right? Just another thing in my head. If there is an expectation and it's something that I cannot comply with at that moment, maybe we can talk about it, right? We can communicate. I learned that communication does not necessarily lead to conflict, and that conflict is not necessarily the end of the world, right? This is something that I was always afraid of, conflict. And being vulnerable, expressing oneself, that's something that helps a lot to remove that anxiety that I had, and that fear of the expectations. Finally, anger. I think that after some time of being in this state of not expressing myself, I would get very triggered very easily by my partners in the past. So I learned that again by just observing that, observing those beliefs and those emotional reactions. I learned to sort of separate myself from that, see what's the truth behind it, and I realized that most of the time it's true in my head, but it's not the truth, and that I can actually decide how I want to respond instead of simply react, right? So consciously responding. So these three things that are very related to commitment and to relationships, I think were the most powerful ones that I've learned in coaching. Just want to share a little thing also. Before I actually moved in with my girlfriend where we are right now, I did a coaching session just to express a lot of those fears, and also before I got engaged. That's something also that I had that session with you
Yeah.
actually, and I expressed all of those fears and things that could go wrong and whatever, and that just grounded me back again and gave me that confidence that that what I was doing was the right thing. It was really what I wanted. So I want to actually personally share, thank you for that for that session, and yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah, no, I'm really grateful to be also part of your journey, and how you explained that also, that a lot is related to our thoughts, right? We sometimes identify with our thoughts, but they are not necessarily true. And what you were saying is that you also learn to observe yourself, right? Be more distant and not totally identify what you think and think that is true, and that really help you with your anxiety, with your fear of commitment, and yeah, and I think we are still learning every day, and I think every week we have those interesting topics we are exchanging. So yeah, thank you for really sharing how that has affected your life today. Then the last question: what is your objective with coaching?
I want to split this between a mission and an objective. So my mission, like my global mission, is to help others to discover and to understand that no matter what their past has been, people, they're able, right, to live a life full of joy, connection, and meaning. And more specifically with my objective, which is related to my niche, my new niche that I said I wanted to announce, is to help people with fear of commitment in love relationships to have fulfilling relationships. Now, how do I want to do this? First of all, using my experience, as I said, this is something that I've gone through myself in the past for most of my life. So that can allow me to connect to the people myself that are suffering with this, to understand better where they're coming from, to empathize better. And the second, on the other hand, I can also use my coaching tools from IPEC, right? Using the core energy coaching process that combines various tools. For example, conscious inquiry, which is pretty much questioning, that can allow me to dig into the core of who my clients really are by exploring their thoughts, their beliefs, their emotions, and specifically with the fear of commitment, to distinguish that fear and those beliefs related to that fear from the reality, which is most of the time completely different. As I've said before, most of the time the fears are pretty much illusions in our head. And if it is actually true about it, we can do something about it. We can make a plan, right? So these are tools that we have with the coaching. Also, the part of connecting the client or the person with their values, the core values, with their passion, with their core strengths, so that they can really feel authentic and energized and start really enjoying their life and live the life as they could, like to the fullest. Finally, some other tools that I really like are mind-body connection, mindfulness, visioning, visualization techniques that we can also use. So with this combination of techniques, my clients in the end can enjoy fulfilling love relationships or relationships in general with other people. And also it opens up the opportunity to live their lives to the fullest and to fulfill, I would say, their dreams as well. And finally, this also connects me to the deepest part of my being, I would say, which really makes it a win-win situation. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for sharing this today. You're announcing your niche, right? And I really like your mission because it's really about, doesn't matter who we were in the past, what we have experienced in the past. We have always a choice today, right? Who we wanna be today and in the future. And that is really powerful, and coaching really can help us with that. And then your niche of helping people with fears of commitment in love relations. And as you said, this is something you have gone through yourself and you have overcome these challenges. So surely you will resonate with this group. And we have all these powerful tools we learned from IPAC, and depending on the situation, the question, I think we have really this toolbox to pick and to use. And also like that you mentioned values, because I think that's really the foundation to understand what are our values, what are our conscious values, not the ones our parents maybe give us. And that is really, I think, our compass, right? How we make decisions. And when we are aligned with our values, we will be happy, right? And we will feel good about it. So thanks a lot, Javier, for also answering your part of the question. Yeah.
Thanks for you for the questions, also for all the nice comments that you made, and your part of responding to the questions as well. I think that has been, again, it's my first exchange in this manner, like a Facebook Live with someone else, but I've loved it. And I am sure that a lot of the people that are watching have also enjoyed and hopefully learned something as well.
I hope so, because for me, it was my first ever Facebook Live event, and I also really enjoyed it, and it was good to get out of my comfort zone. So maybe, Javier, we can do a couple of more. Now I think we feel comfortable with it, and thank you really for asking me and actually getting me out of the comfort zone, because I think it's also really important what we say, to build this anabolic team, right, to support each other and to grow. So I hope that the audience has enjoyed our conversation, and and I think also in the Facebook event details, I think our details are there. If people are interested to learn more about us or about coaching, I think feel free to reach out to us. Yeah.
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Jane. And just repeating that, our information is there in the event description. You can always contact us, and expect a little later something maybe later from us as well.
We will discuss.
We will discuss about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks.
All right. So if there are any, I don't see any questions actually in the chat.
No.
So I believe that we're over the time a little bit as well. But
Yeah.
if anyone has questions, please feel free to reach out. You have our emails there and our Facebooks. So again, thanks a lot for everyone for being here, to everyone, and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks, Javier. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.